every single time that I watch a game. Now, last night against Denver, the Timberwolves lose this game 115 to 112, right?
Yeah.
They hold Anthony Edwards scoreless in the fourth quarter. And we'll talk about that because I thought it was really interesting. I felt they loaded up really, really well against him. But the first three quarters were like magnificent. They were absolutely staggering. They were stunning. They were incredible. The last few weeks for Anthony Edwards, it feels like there's a new highlight every night, whether it's him blocking a shot at the end of the game and hitting his face on the rim, or it's him dunking and dislocating a finger against John Collins and like hitting John Collins in the face as he's doing this. Anthony Edwards is like taking a real leap into superstardom, it feels like, even above and beyond what we've seen so far from this now two-time All-Star.
Well, and it started this last summer, right? Like coming out of the summer, I think a lot of people felt like he was on this path. And I don't want to say he like had some sort of slow start to the season. It wasn't that by any means, but it seems like it's ramping up here at the end of the season. Like the thing with that loss to the Nuggets, Sam, is they started Kyle Anderson at center and then had to play Luka Garza 20 minutes at center against the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. And they were still there in large part to some other guys, but Anthony Edwards. Since the All-Star break, he's 6th in the NBA in points per game. He's 6th in fourth quarter points per game, shooting better than 50% from the field. I know the Nuggets were able to slow him down a little bit in the fourth quarter in that game, but in general, he has been amazing. And I'm excited to look at the film, talk about what makes him great. I assume on both ends of the floor. If not, I have some things I want to talk about defensively, even from that Nuggets game where he's holding teammates accountable. So I think it'll be a lot of fun and probably overdue us giving some of him his flowers.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I didn't grab anything defensive today because I really just kind of wanted to focus on like the growth and the footwork offensively, because to me, that's kind of where it starts, and we'll kind of break it down. I'm glad you brought up the defense. We'll talk about the defense maybe after we get into the offense, but I think what's made Ant just so special recently has been the overall growth on offense. And I think that that's exactly where I want to go with this just to begin is you and I last week when we broke down Jalen Williams, we talked a lot about 3-level scoring, right? Yeah. We talked a lot about how Jalen is able to, in the first 6 minutes of that game or whatever, get to the rim on a drive, get to his favorite mid-range areas, knock down a catch and shoot three. I mean, we're going to see the same things here with Anthony Edwards as we dive into this to start, right? So this first clip here is literally first minute of the game. Jaden McDaniels sets like a little mini slip screen. And I just want to point out the patience for Anthony Edwards here. This is stuff where when he was in college, first year in the league, he took a lot of really inefficient shots. I think that honestly, Anthony Edwards probably would have shot this ball like here.
Yep.
I think he probably would have like hang dribbled and taken like a mid-range pull up, like right in this area, somewhere like that. Instead, he's patient. He's calm. He takes 3-4 dribbles, then goes step through against Michael Porter Jr., who's a bigger defender than he is. I love the way that they use screens in this game as well. I thought it was really intriguing just to look at. So they start with Nickeil Alexander-Walker here. He's going to set this little slip. And then watch like Kyle Anderson like kind of come through Kyle Anderson's going to come through and set what looks like a little flare here for Alexander Walker to come off. So Aaron Gordon can't really trap here. Yep. That's the issue. Like you can't really put two on Anthony Edwards here. That's why Aaron Gordon's eventually going to point and go, hey, Michael, I need you to take him. I need you to take him. He goes and turns around and goes, and then Ant just realizes he's got this matchup here. And the step through is absolutely sick.
He also scores this if Karl Anthony Towns is on the floor and Jokic has to give more respect. Like Jokic essentially hung out in the lane this whole game because he was guarding Kyle Anderson. Right there, Anthony Edwards does a sick in and out hesitation. Right there, he has Michael Porter Jr.'s hips all the way open. A little before that in a driving lane, but Jokic is standing in the lane. Right there, he gets him leaning. Like this is a layup, but Jokic is really able to commit. But what I love is then he stops, doesn't settle for a fadeaway, And then as Jokic has to get out of the lane eventually, right? Then he does this step through move and all the footwork stuff you want to get into.
Yeah. Again, this is just clear growth for Anthony Edwards. There's not another way to put this. Everybody's going to melt down about the dunks and the
Sure.
blocks. And look, he had a disgusting putback dunk in this game that we're
Yes, he
about to get
did.
to. It's the footwork for me. The footwork is absolutely gross. It's the patience, it's the poise. And let's get to this next one here. They're going to set like a double pin down action here for Ant and get into just a little dribble handoff with Luka Garza. The Nuggets cut this thing off, do a great job with it. And then he's just going to get Contavious Caldwell Pope on skates with this sick crossover, and he's going to knock down just this little step back jumper.
I think this is the most impressive shot of the game for me, Sam, because watch KCP and MPJ and where they are at in relation to like his feet and his legs when he takes this shot.
I definitely want to point that out as well. I also want to point out, because you're going to see this on the next clip, look how high KCP is above the 3-point line here, defending yep. Anthony Edwards. The next clip here, you're going to see there's an issue there, but look how high he is on this one. And I would imagine the next clip is an adjustment to what happened on this clip, yeah. right? So he gets this crossover between the legs, right? He drives, and look at just the ability to stop. Look at how split his legs are here.
Yep.
Like, that's not normal, like body mechanics for somebody who's this powerful and physical.
Real quick, Sam. So for anybody who's not watching on video, one, you should go over to YouTube and all the things Sam says, but he has one foot that is legitimately outside the 3-point line and the other foot is at the top of the free throw line circle. So like that is the distance that he is covering right now. And it's not just about the distance, it's about the explosion he's going to have out of this when he stops his momentum.
It's insane. He gets to this step back, double contest. Like you said, Bryce, you wanted to point out where KCP's feet are.
Look at both of them.
Is.
They're
right there.
That's ridiculous. Like, I know as somebody who took a lot of jump shots that somebody being in that space, because I couldn't do anything else, Sam, somebody being in that space whenever I elevated would bother me. It would affect me mentally. And Ant can feel it because you can see he does an awkward thing with his foot on the landing and he still has the concentration to knock it down. This was crazy impressive.
Yeah, like Bryce, I'm assuming you could do this, right? Like this just full flexibility, with all this power and strength and coordination. This was you, right? Like getting to a step back.
So whenever I train kids, I teach this, like getting low and all of that stuff in very slow motion. And Sam, it's so sad. It's so sad after the workouts, how sore I am. Like I'm about to rip a hamstring just stepping it off, let alone doing it full speed and then doing a step back off of it.
My goodness. Yeah, this is just disgusting for Ant. And then this next one here is literally the next possession down the court for the Timberwolves, right? The last one was at 8:35. This one's at 8:19, right? First quarter. Anthony Edwards going to come down. KCP, look where his feet are now. His feet are below the 3-point line now because he recognizes, shit, I have Anthony Edwards coming. He can get a little bit downhill against me. Oh, by the way, he drilled a step back on me last time. I'm all the way below the 3-point line now. And then he just hits that pound dribble and just goes right up for it. Like just an absolutely sick player right now, Anthony Edwards. This next one here. This is a Nickeil Alexander-Walker or a Jaden McDaniels missed 3. That might be Jaden in the corner. Missed 3 here with literally the next possession down the court. Or no, this is 2 minutes later. Misses the 3. And you can just see I can just like imagine the way he's walking is just like purely gleeful here. He knows it's coming. He knows that nobody has gotten a body on him.
Yep.
Aaron Gordon just said, forget about it. This is about to be curtains and Anthony Edwards. The thing that's so impressive about this to me, his left arm is like over here. This is a one-handed catch.
Yep.
In traffic. Jokic's arm is right here, right? Like Jokic's arm is right there. He catches this one-handed.
Below the rim right now, or like at the rim. So he has to control it and then bring it back up over the rim.
Yeah. and he somehow finishes this. This
Yeah,
is insane.
this was
This
nice.
is truly insane to see somebody do this. Like, I just kind of want to watch it in full just to be able to get the full understanding of what we're looking at here. It's gross.
Yeah.
It's so disgusting that happened. This next one here, Michael Porter throws a bad pass in transition, 3:32 of the first quarter. And now we've got Anthony Edwards in space and just, I mean,
Oh, this one is beautiful. That's such I'm so glad you clipped these out, Sam, because with somebody like Anthony Edwards, people just fall, you said it already. They fall in love with the athleticism and they forget the nuance with his skill level. You don't do these things just because. This is work and preparation and putting in the time. He does another nice little in and out with his left hand here, but this step through stuff was so beautiful in this first quarter.
so he sees Aaron Gordon coming out at him. As soon as Aaron Gordon's momentum starts going toward him, he's like, I'm just going to in and out this guy. And I feel like I can get by him at any point once I do that. So in and outs him. Gordon actually does a pretty good job staying in
This was a
front.
really good job by Aaron Gordon.
And then it's just stringing dribble moves together. It's stringing moves off the bounce, right? Look at his head right here. This is what's crazy about Anthony Edwards' balance. His head is like going this way momentum wise. He's putting that ball with his left hand through his legs up to his right hand right here. Able to, oh no, this is behind the back. But like the fact that he's able to get back to that behind the back
Yep.
is disgusting even. I don't understand how somebody is capable of like doing these things. Like he takes that extra dribble and then gets him behind the back. He goes behind the back to attack the front foot, right? Like you're always trying to attack front foot. Basically, nobody can get there to attack the front foot from this spot by going behind the back like this. This is what makes this so absurd. And he gets that extra separation. He's got Aaron Gordon dancing. Aaron Gordon is like a borderline all defense defender in the league. And he goes up and under to get there.
Well, the thing is, like at a certain point, Aaron Gordon's like, I've just given so many efforts. Like we talk about multiple efforts defensively. This is in pseudo transition. Gordon lunges at him, does a great job recovering. Now Ant makes a change of direction move with the behind the back right here. Gordon changes direction with him again. He's going to cut him off again, Sam. Ant looks like he's going to take the fadeaway jumper. And by that point, like you have to imagine how like exhausted Gordon is on this possession from all those efforts. Whenever he goes to the fake fade away and step through, it's just over. Like you can't continue to move your feet and stay in front.
It's completely sick. Completely sick. This is the next possession down the court. I believe 3 minutes left in the second quarter. Or no, this is second quarter now, not first quarter. So this is a quarter later. This is just power, right?
Yep.
KCP is an unbelievable defender. He's got help here with Nikola Jokic because they have Luka Garza on the court. He just sees this mini like crease here where he's like, okay, I can leverage here and I think I can get to the spot before Jokic can get there.
Yep.
And he gets there. He just powers through.
I was going to say,
the foul.
He's strong enough to do it. Balance.
Yeah. That's what's crazy about this. Just look, post position. They ran a lot of post ups for Anthony Edwards in this game. I thought that was pretty interesting. It felt like he had a strength advantage on KCP and on Jamal Murray at times. We'll talk about that in the second half, particularly. But the ability to just power up and go through these things is completely absurd. It's completely absurd. This next one here, a minute left in the second quarter now. He's got Aaron Gordon on him. Screen comes. KCP kind of shades toward the ball as if there's going to be two on the ball because he's guarding Monte Morris. Then Garza is going to come up for a screen here. And again, I want to point out the patience and the footwork compared to what Anthony Edwards used to be, right? So I think there's a chance, A, that Anthony Edwards might have just taken this empty side previously and tried to get like into all of this open space in order to just try and be an athlete, right? Because that's what he used to do. Instead, he's patient. He lets Monte Morris clear to the corner. He takes this ball screen instead from Luca Garza. And I think previously he takes this shot here. I think that this would have normally, like in past years, I think Anthony Edwards just rises up and takes this jumper from 18 feet. Probably makes it 43% of the time, something like that. I don't know what the exact number would be, but he probably makes it a decent amount of the time, right? Instead, he pump fakes, gets Jokic going backward to go and rebound, and then just takes this little leaning shot where, again, because his hang time is so sick, he's able to realign his body in midair and get to this little right-handed floater.
Yeah,
I mean, this is tough. This is really hard to guard.
So by year, 16 feet to the 3-point line, Anthony Edwards, 28%, 36%, 35%. So you get
Yep.
you get inside of 15 feet. And as most people, like even this year, the difference between those two areas, inside and outside of 16 feet, inside of 16, 10 to 16, 43%, 16 feet to the 3-point line, 34%. So you're looking at almost a 10% difference in those areas. The other thing you brought it up, if he goes sideline baseline here, he probably ends up getting double teamed by KCP and Aaron Gordon, as opposed to doing what he does, which is Jokic, knowing he's in drop, because that's what Jokic did the entire game in this game because of who the Timberwolves had. He also does a good job setting Aaron Gordon up here, comes off close hip to hip, not great, but I watch a lot of NBA players that are way worse at coming off hip to hip than this. And he is able to now attack Nikola Jokic instead of probably doubling or dribbling into a trap from Gordon and KCP if he goes to the baseline.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. He's just completely ridiculous right now. This next play here, I think, is going to get us into the second half. And what I want you guys to watch for in the second half here is they really went after Jamal Murray here in the third quarter. It felt like they set a lot of actions where the primary goal was to get Ant onto Jamal Murray as a player. And like, I think Jamal has turned into an okay defender. Like, he doesn't take anything off the court, in my opinion, defensively. He's not like a killer on defense, but he's pretty close to like a net neutral at this point. And he probably is a net neutral, to be honest. This one here, Conley's going to throw it back to Jamal. Conley, I think, recognizes that they've got three guys low here and that Jokic is kind of going backward. So Jokic can't go up to the level and help a little bit. And that means he can just go screen. So we're going to get a Mike Conley screen here. And the Nuggets tend to switch everything like this. So we get that switch and Ant just like goes right behind the screen and is like, all right, I'm just going to fire this thing. Jamal is not quite there yet. Jamal's got his feet below the 3-point line here. And Ant can just get into this shot with ease, right?
Yeah, I mean, the deceleration, the explosion, elevation on this jump shot, anywhere it's at is impressive.
He drills this one. Next time down the court now. Here comes Anthony Edwards in transition. He's got Aaron Gordon guarding him in transition. And I just wanted to pull this for the craft off the bounce. I swear, like, Anthony Edwards had some stuff off the bounce when he was younger. He had nowhere near the tightness of handle that he has now when he was younger. Like, he's going to inside out this into a crossover with full leverage, full speed, staying low, keeping this ball away from Jamal Murray, by the way, who's digging in to help.
Yep.
Look at how Anthony Edwards like extends this ball out here to get it away from Jamal digging into the handle. The tightness of handle is sick here. And then just the ability to adjust in midair to put his back to Aaron Gordon to shield off Gordon and then throw up like a behind the back layup, basically like an inside hand, like behind the back kind of layup here. It's sick.
Well, and the pull-up jump shooting plays into all of this as well, because if there was no threat for him to stop on a dime right here and take this shot, the in and out move and all of that wouldn't be as effective. Aaron Gordon could just keep backpedaling. I'm also glad you brought up how he navigates that secondary defender in Jamal Murray. So, for all the viewers and listeners, guys, really watch an NBA game when somebody is attacking off the bounce and watch the little nuance they use navigating the second defender, the defender that's stepping over to help in. They can't come all the way over in the NBA to cut him off because the floor spacing is too good. The shooters are too good. So they just try to get a hand in there. Watch the really good guards, wings, whoever, even some bigs use that little, like they'll throw it out ahead, they'll in and out it, whatever they do to navigate that secondary defender. It's really impressive.
Yeah, and we can go back to the third clip we watched, right? So this play here is very similar to this one, right? 8:16 of the first quarter, where Ant has this ball coming down. He pound dribbles there, right? Still has one hand on the ball. This could easily be a drive still in the first quarter. He decides to pull up and drills it in KCP's face. This time, he's coming down in transition. He has the ability to do that again, and he sets up the same way, right? Like he goes for that little pound dribble in his right hand. So Gordon has to be up here at the level a little bit higher of the 3-point line. And now we're inside outing into a crossover into this ridiculous layup package. It's completely absurd. Next one here, Anthony Edwards going to take this. Again, kind of a dribble handoff situation. Takes the DHO. They switch it. It gets him on to Jamal Murray. Again, he's like, I am just stronger than Jamal Murray. I'm going to back him down, get to my spot, get to that like 13-foot range that Bryce brought up earlier being so important. Cans that. Next one here, again, Ant being guarded by KCP. This time, instead of running the 2-1 ball screen, they run the 1-2 ball screen, and he just kind of seals off Murray and makes it so that he has to take him. And then this is just going to be a little pull-up jumper here. It's just ridiculous. He's completely ridiculous in this game. This one's going to be a steal off of the wide pass. He throws a really nice hit ahead to Monte Morris here, who just kind of bobbles it, gets it around to Jordan McLaughlin, throws up this like Sam Young level pump fake. Do you remember Sam Young at Pitt?
Yes,
Bryce?
I do. Yes, I do.
Throws up the Sam Young level pump fake here to Jokic, gets Jokic all the way up on his toes.
This Euro step
drives
is
here.
Impressive.
Euro step starts
outside the lane.
Outside the lane here. Ends
middle of the lane.
Middle of the lane there. And then because he's so strong and so powerful and so explosive off of 1 foot even, he can still get it to where he's taking this final step here from what we're going to call that 7.5 feet away about, right?
Sure. Yep.
And he's still going to get close to the rim to be able to finish. Like takeoff points are really important, right? Like most guys, when you get to your takeoff point, it needs to be as close as possible to the basket. Unless you're an athlete like Anthony Edwards, and you can not only explode, forward, but also explode upward and have real hang time and can absorb contact as well, because that's the other thing. You're going to get bumped in that area every single time.
I want to highlight, like most NBA players are going to be this way, but just, like somebody like me, Sam, who wasn't near this close to the, a lot of people will be 1 foot jumpers, right? So you have a lot of players that are right hand or left hand dominant. A lot of people are leg dominant as well. So what I want to highlight here, he Euro steps off his left leg. And if the NBA lane is 16 feet wide, he covers about 8 feet on this Euro step. He may not get all the way, let's say 7 feet. And then now he's jumping off his right leg, exploding to the rim through contact from 7 or 8 feet away. Now, he doesn't get all the way to the rim, but he takes the contact and finish. My point being, think about how explosive he is off both. So he's explosive off both legs at the same time, but individually, he's explosive off both of his legs as well. And that's what makes guys crazy athletes and practical athletes, is they can do it off two, off one, off each foot.
Yeah, it's completely absurd. And by the way, you're like about Anthony Edwards' height, right? Like
I'm
you're like
6'6".
pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
like you're probably like half an inch taller than Anthony Edwards or something like that. Like
Yep.
maybe even an inch taller. Like in theory, you could cover this ground. Like you understand the mechanics of how you could cover this ground, but like in practicality, like you're saying, it's just different.
I could cover in my day, I could have covered the Euro step ground, and then I would have had no ability to elevate off my right foot, take contact, and finish. If that makes like,
Right.
here's the other thing. This is all in traffic. Like Jokic is right behind him as well. So some guys look really good in layup lines, covering ground, Euro stepping, exploding to the rim. It's a whole nother thing when there are bodies and hands and feet around them. This is practical athleticism at its finest, being able to do this in a crowd.
And he's even got KCP here 4 on the side where the drive started. It's completely absurd. Final clip here. 225. Garza's going to get this steal, and now we've got Ant just coming down
Take the
again.
lead. Did you see the smile
Same
after
deal.
this one? Man, he was feeling pretty good after this one. I like to see it.
It's a shame that he didn't score again after this one. I thought Denver particularly did an absolutely fantastic job of getting in his space and of crowding the lane. They made it so it wasn't just, Jamal Murray in charge of him or Aaron Gordon in charge of him, right? They really did a good job of like making it like it's a village, right? We're making sure that we're getting multiple bodies, throwing multiple bodies at Anthony Edwards all the time, making it so that it's tough for him to get anywhere. I loved the first 3 quarters of this game. That's why I didn't score in the fourth. I thought Denver really locked up and did a great job schematically, defensively. Michael Malone deserves a lot of credit. I will say, before we get to the defense, this is a game where Anthony Edwards had like 8 assists, right? I still am of the belief that there is a lot of growth potential for him as a passer.
Sure.
A lot of his assists in this game came off of like, I wrote them down. It's like he had 2 post passes, like where he was posting a man and like hit a kick out. He had like one like little easy like pick and pop, like slip pass to Garza. He had like an easy kind of like drive and dump to Luka. He had like a bounce pass like into wide open space to Kyle Anderson for one of these. Like 6 of his assists were like just super easy reversals or post kickouts, that are valuable but not necessarily like you're on the move, you're attacking, you're processing what's happening like within the help defense, not as a scorer but as a playmaker. He had 2 in this game that I thought were really quite good. He hit like a little mini skip pass to the corner off of a drive. And that was the one where I was like, okay, like you have the wherewithal to do this. That to me is where the next step is going to come for Anthony Edwards. And I think that's sometimes why, which has been Minnesota's biggest problem throughout the entirety of this season, has been late game offense. Teams basically try and make Anthony Edwards a passer and playmaker. And I think that he's not quite there yet in terms of being able to do it. As soon as that comes, this guy might be the best player in the NBA is where I'm at.